Thursday, November 7. The Witness of the Crowd. On the last day, we read in John 7, verses 37 to 38, that great day of the feast, Jesus stood and cried out, saying, "If anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the Scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water." John recorded numerous times Jesus making bold statements about himself, about who he was, and what he came to do. The lines quoted above from John 7, verses 37 and 38, are another example of what Jesus claimed about himself and about what he would do to all who come to him. These were astonishing claims as well. When Jesus spoke to the Jews attending the Feast of Tabernacles, what was the response of many in the crowd? We read this story in John chapter 7, verses 37 to 53. On the last and greatest day of the festival, Jesus stood and said in a loud voice, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as Scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them." By this he meant the Spirit, whom those who believed in him were later to receive. Up to that time, the Spirit had not been given, since Jesus had not yet been glorified. On hearing his words, some of the people said, "Surely this man is the prophet." Others said, "He is the Messiah." Still others asked, "How can the Messiah come from Galilee? Does not Scripture say that the Messiah will come from David's descendants and from Bethlehem, the town where David lived?" Thus the people were divided because of Jesus. Some wanted to seize him, but no one laid a hand on him. Finally, the temple guards went back to the chief priests and the Pharisees, who asked them, "Why didn't you bring him in?" "No one ever spoke the way this man does," the guards replied. "You mean he has deceived you also?" the Pharisees retorted. "Have any of the rulers of the Pharisees believed in him?" "No, but this mob that knows nothing of the law, there is a curse on them." Nicodemus, who had gone to Jesus earlier, and who was one of their own number, asked, "Does our law condemn a man without first hearing him to find out what he has been doing?" They replied, "Are you from Galilee too? Look at it, and you will find that a prophet does not come out of Galilee." Then they all went home. Some said he was the prophet like Moses predicted long ago, as in Deuteronomy 18:15 to 19. Let's read those verses. "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him. For this is what you asked of the Lord your God at Horeb in the day of the assembly, when you said, 'Let us not hear the voice of the Lord our God, nor see this great fire any more, or we will die.' The Lord said to me, 'What they say is good. I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their fellow Israelites, and I will put my words in his mouth. He will tell you everything I command him. I myself will call to account anyone who does not listen to my words that the prophet speaks in my name." Others thought Jesus was the Christ. But this brought the argument that the Messiah would not come from Galilee, that he had to be of the Davidic line, and that he had to be born in Bethlehem. All of which were true about Jesus. And you'll remember in Matthew chapter 1 and 2, the Bible tells us about that, though many did not seem to know this. Even the arresting officers were stymied by him and the eloquence of his words. The Pharisees responded to the officers with another question. Have any of the rulers or the Pharisees believed in him in John 7:48? This question from the Pharisees gave John the opportunity again to bring in Nicodemus, who, after having had his meeting with Jesus, was seeking to protect Jesus from their machinations. As we read in John 7:51, "Does our law judge a man before it hears him and knows what he is doing?" Did Nicodemus ever accept Jesus as the Messiah? Though this scene does not prove that he had, between this act and what he did after Jesus died, recorded in John 19 verses 39 and 40, the Bible gives us solid evidence that Nicodemus did in fact come to believe in Jesus. John 19, beginning at verse 39. He was accompanied by Nicodemus, the man who earlier had visited Jesus at night. Nicodemus brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds. Taking Jesus' body, the two of them wrapped it with the spices in strips of linen. This was in accordance with Jewish burial customs. And so the answer to that question was yes. In fact, one of the Pharisees did believe in him after all. And so to finish today, read John 7 verse 49. What were the leaders saying that showed their disdain for the masses who followed after Jesus? What lesson might be here for us? John 7 and verse 49. No, but this mob that knows nothing of the law, there is a curse on them. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.